What's going on, everybody? Jellico and I, it's raining outside. Special shout out to this guy. I probably should take my glasses off and focus on the road. Folks, what we're getting ready to do right now, we're getting ready to go meet with a guy by the name of Chris. This is an individual who we haven't had a chance to introduce you guys to yet. We did film an initial video with this guy, however, we've just not uploaded it yet. But who Chris is he's actually the guy that rented the last moped from us. He's got the prison orange moped,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, he does.
Chris is a pretty solid dude. He definitely has done a lot of time in prison. He's covered in tattoos, and he's got a really unique story about something that's happened at the house where he's living at. And it's my hope today to be able to ask him to share that story with us, to be able to introduce all of you to him. And that's what we're getting ready to do. Jellico, you know this guy. You're the reason that we were able to make this moped transaction, and talk a little bit about who he is.
Knew Chris. He was in the last building. Actually, we were in Nottoway together for a little bit, and then we were in St. Bride's together. And I've touched base with him since he's been home. He's a pretty quiet guy. He actually slept beside me on a top bunk, and he's a quiet individual. He's kind of mean, actually, to be honest with you. He's kind of an angry guy, you know. I mean, when you get to know him, he's better, but he's short to the point, man of his word, done time. You know, he don't pull no punches. He'll let you know. He'll let you know what's up. That's for sure.
Well, one thing that I want to say about this guy, I've only met him one time, and we rented this moped to him, I think 4 weeks ago today, or yeah. This is the 4th week that he's had the moped. And during that time when we initially rented the moped to him, I was worried. I was worried because I wasn't 100% sure that he wasn't using. In fact, he shared with us that he had been struggling to remain clean. However, since renting the moped to him, he's actually been doing really good, right?
Yeah, man, he's gotten in touch with probation. They have him on some more groups, you know, after you have a couple dirties or whatever, or talk to, I don't know the exact scenario, but he has a couple more groups a week. He's taking his medications on point, and just everything's working out well. From my understanding, from the last conversation I had, everything's going pretty smooth. You know, he's been spending time with his grandchild, his son. I believe you met his son. It's been really kind of nice to hear, you know, a little spunk in someone's voice. You know that things are going well. And
I think that was initially part of the reason why we never uploaded the video featuring Chris, was because he shared with us that he did have a couple of dirty urines, more than just a couple, since he's been home from prison. And he's been home from prison now for only a couple of months, right?
Yes, sir. Yep, just a couple of months. He's working at a good job.
He's got a really good job.
Got a really good job, you know, and he seems to be doing really well. I mean, he's one of those guys where his work ethic and his word are everything, and his family are everything to him, you know, generally a good guy, you know.
Something else that I want to mention that happened during the first video that we did with Chris that you guys have never seen was Alex was actually over there as well. And you guys may remember Alex. He was the first person to rent a moped from us. And Alex shared some pretty crazy stuff with us during that first video. Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. We heard some great things about you.
Yeah, man. Doing good. The new job is sweet. Working
yeah.
with that,
Right on, man.
Thanks to that thing, it gave me the confidence to be able to make that jump.
Alex, let's talk about that real quick. Tell us what's taken place since getting the moped.
Since I got the moped, I mean, I had been thinking about getting a new job. Work had slowed down a lot for me, but I was scared to let it go because
that was all you had.
It was all I had. I didn't know what else I was going to do. My boss was kind of willing to work with me and pick me up, so I had to settle. I wasn't making much money, but I needed something else. When I got the moped, I could, you know, it's reliable. It starts on demand. I can get where I need to go, so I had the confidence to go ahead and start making some calls and venture out, and it worked. I'm making almost twice as much money now.
Man, shout out to you for that, man.
Yeah, so it's good.
Alex is a pretty cool guy, man. You know, he's found a new job. You know, he explained how what the doors at the moped had opened up for him and such. And he seems to be doing well also.
Yeah, Alex shared with us that because of the transportation he had with the moped, he was actually able to leave the job that he was currently working at, where he was only making like $75 a day.
I know, I couldn't believe that. Man, he made double that now.
Yeah, and he went and found a better job where he's making $125 a day. So the moped venture has had its ups and downs, to say the least. We've definitely had the situation with Jew-Man. That's a very unfortunate situation, but you know, 5 mopeds have provided transportation for 5 individuals, and who we're getting ready to go meet with right now is the 5th individual who After Prison Show has helped to get transportation, and who you guys are getting ready to meet for the very first time. So we're just getting over here with Chris. It is pouring down outside right now, but I want to introduce you guys to an individual who you haven't met yet. This is a friend of Jellicoe's from prison, and a really awesome guy by the name of Chris. How you doing, man?
What's going on?
Jellicoe speaks pretty highly of you, and I've got a chance to meet you one time prior to this, but this is the first time that we're really getting a chance to feature you. And you know, just tell us a little bit about your story and what you've been through on this last bid that you just went through.
Just got finished doing 3 years, well, 3 years, 3 months I was sentenced to. Met Jellicoe on that bid. It was for a violation of absconding, and also brought back a charge of a drug charge, Schedule 1.
And you did 3 years for that?
Yep, first violation, 3 years.
And how long have you been out for now?
February 21st, so over 4 months.
And in that time, you've struggled a little bit, as you've shared with us, but you've been working, and currently you're doing a lot better.
Yeah, I work at the shipyard. I have steady employment always. I have struggled with things since I've been home, using back and forth. I'm now to a point that I'm doing really good, and my PO, everything's behind me, supportive, and proud of me.
Dude, well, I'm super proud to hear that you're doing better, and I wish you nothing but success. I want to showcase a little bit. This is the moped, and talk a little bit about how the moped's been treating you.
It's been treating me really good. A dude ran me off the road last week in the rain, just like it is now, and I actually hit a curb head on, underwater, didn't see it coming. Flipped over, laid down, the moped never cut off. I got back up, kept on riding.
Well, thank God that it didn't end up worse than what it was. One thing that I noticed over here, and we didn't get a chance to show this at all yet, but you know, there's other mopeds over here as well. There's one right here, and there's another one in the back right there. So you're pretty well versed when it comes to the mopeds.
Yeah, I'm utilizing them. With no license, you got to do something. So they're definitely a good way to get around.
And the 2 that you have prior to the orange one, they just were a bunch of problems.
They last for a little while, then they go kaput. That's it.
But this one's been doing pretty good for you?
It's going great. Yeah, it's going great for me. I love it.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. I appreciate you allowing us to introduce you. And you've got a really crazy story that I want to sit down and talk with you a little bit about, if you'd be willing to share that story.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we've switched shots right here, and Chris, this is just going to be with you in front of the camera, and I want you to just visualize this as me and you having a conversation, but I'm right here. You know, one thing really that struck me about your story is something that happened at this house that you live at. And if you would, will you talk a little bit about this house that you live at? Like, whose house is this? And just give us a little bit of history of that.
I currently came home and live with my son, who's 22, one of my 2 kids. He lives here and I live here. He lives here in his grandmother's house, is whose house it is, my ex-mother-in-law's house. The reason why he lives here on his own while I was gone was before I went away, actually, a few months before, his grandmother was victim of a home invasion of a guy that was getting out of prison. I think he'd been out maybe less than 2 months on his 3rd or 4th bid to penitentiary, who actually grew up 3-4 houses over on the corner over there. His mom still lives there.
And you knew this individual?
Yeah. He got my first job at the shipyard.
And as we get into this story, this horrific story, this is going to speak so highly to what addiction can cause an individual to do. You know, just the lengths that a person will go to in an effort to get drugs, basically. But where this story actually starts out at is in this garage where we're sitting at right now.
Right.
And talk to us about, you know, what happened and how this garage plays a part to this story.
All right. Well, it started early in the morning. Judy is my mother-in-law's name. Judy was living here. Her and her boyfriend Chuck of like almost 30 years. Chuck is a machinist at the shipyard, or he was at the time. He leaves for work, I'd say, around 6 o'clock in the morning. He either starts work at 6 or 7, depending on what time the shift was. So he left accordingly to that plan that day. Right there, shortly after, within a half an hour, Judy had got up to go to the kitchen and to make some cereal that morning. She thought she heard something in the garage, assuming it was maybe a cat or something, what she thought it was going to be, when she opened the door. Instead, she opens that door right there, and she finds this dude, Chip, standing in the garage with his back towards her, messing around with some stuff. Her initial reaction is she thought it was me, because we resemble each other, shaved heads, good-sized white guy, whatever, Caucasian. So, she thought it was me. She thought it was Chris. And then he turns around, and his first words out of his mouth is he went to go on a play thinking that I had issues with her about my kids because I'm not with her daughter anymore or something like that. So he tried to say something like, you turn my kids against me. Well, that's far from the truth. That's nothing to do with it. But he heard her say Chris. He thought it was that. So he wanted her to believe it was Chris doing what he was getting ready to do to her. He
wanted her to believe that it was you.
Absolutely, yeah. Once she said my name, he kind of thought, well, she thinks it's Chris, not me. So I'm good, So he ran with that basically. I'm not sure exactly which one he actually did it first. I believe he hit her with a ball-peen hammer on the top of her head first. Split it open, did a lot of damage on her head, for real. He ended up spraying her with gasket remover, which if nobody knows what that is, that it'll eat away paint off of things. If you overspray or paint on things, you don't want it to be like steel, anything. You spray it on there and it bubbles up and removes the paint, literally. So it's like a acid almost burning. He sprays her in the eye with that. He proceeds to drag her inside, through the kitchen, eventually into the bedroom, ties her up with a phone cord. This whole time he's asking her, where are the pills, where are the pills, where are the pills? She takes Adderalls and Opanas, and her boyfriend Chuck had, I think, Percocet 10s at the time. So he wanted everything, though he wanted those pills. He's home less than 60 days out of prison, the fourth time, whatever, and he wants pills. So he ties her up, tells her he won't kill her if she'll give him the pills. So eventually he wears her down and she gives him the pills. Now, after she gives the pills up, he's already been hit with a hammer, gas remover in her eye, tied up. He proceeds to pour spray, this gas remover is aerosol-like. He sprays it down her throat now, trying to gag her and kill her. And in the end, when that didn't do anything to her, he stabs her under the jaw with a Phillips head screwdriver. Then he steals the van, the pills, takes off down the street and buries it in the woods on the tracks, in Virginia down there, and takes off running and left her tied up, bleeding out from numerous, different places, her head, her throat, everything. She laid there till Chuck got back off of work that day, after he worked an 8-hour shift or whatever at the shipyard. She laid there all day like that.
And she survived.
And she survived. She survived. She has 3 daughters. My ex-wife is the baby of the bunch. The oldest daughter lives 2 houses down, and she lives there now with her. She's lived with all the daughters over the last few years, though. She will not live in this house. That's why my son lives here, and hence how I got to be living here now.
You knew this individual like you had mentioned.
Oh,
and
yeah. We raised our kids together. Our kids were born 2 weeks apart. He used to date my ex-wife whenever growing up as kids. Judy knew him since he was 5 years old. We hung out real tight, shipyard, kids, everything with the family. We hung out for years, this guy. Absolutely.
And, you would hear about this situation, and obviously you wanted...
Well, we wanted the word revenge, retribution, whatever for it. My son got the phone call later on that evening after, we thought it currently just went down right then. They had just found her, but we thought it just went down. So when we heard everything, we shot to South Norfolk and was riding around looking for him in different vehicles. My son, his friends, me, I had some people with me. We rode around and looked for him for a couple of weeks. Every time they'd get a sighting of him, we all, wherever we were, we'd shoot to South Norfolk and start looking for him. The last sighting, they pinned him down on, his actual cousin turned him in, going down through Portlock over here. He got away from them for a few hours and then was spotted again somewhere on Poindexter, and they ran him down then. So nobody got to get him but the police.
You know, you had mentioned that you and your family were looking for this individual, but it would be the police who would end up getting to him first.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And,
or maybe fortunately.
And he would end up getting locked up. And how much time did he end up getting for all of this?
I can't exactly the number. I think it was 38 years roughly. This happened at the end of 2015. His release date currently is 2054. So that's a pretty good number.
Do you feel like that's, you know, a good amount of time for what he did?
I don't know, man. You know, I think it's a very large number. I agree with that. But he tried to kill that woman. A nice, good woman. No, she doesn't drink. She doesn't do drugs. She just raised her 3 kids and you know, done her thing. School bus driver, retired school bus driver at that. You know, she didn't deserve that whatsoever. Nobody did.
You know, with the fact that you were just in prison, you just wrapped up this 3 years. You talked about what would have happened had you ran into this guy while you were locked up. Would there have been consequences there? I can only imagine that there would have been.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like Judy's my ex-mother-in-law, you want to say, you know, technically, but she's my mom. I've known her since I was 18 years old. I've been coming to this house since I was 18 in high school. She's a mother to me. So I would have handled it like any son would have handled it on his mother getting treated like that.
You know, Chris, I greatly appreciate you sharing that story, and the reason that I asked you to do so is because it speaks to the length an individual will go to just in an effort to get high. Ultimately, this guy wouldn't end up getting anything but just a couple of pills out of this deal and wreak as much damage as he did in the process of trying to obtain those pills.
That's true.
With the fact that you live in this house, this is where you come home from prison too. Do you think about this event a lot? Is it something that you don't think about that much?
When I first came home and got here, I thought about it a lot, a whole lot. You know, and Judy, like I said, lives 2 houses down. She comes down here, and I have a grandson that's been born the month after I got out. And she comes and sees the grandbaby all the time, and she'll come see us and hang out a little bit. But you know, she doesn't spend a whole lot of time here. She doesn't sleep here whatsoever. You know, I think she sleeps less than an hour at a time, probably. So yeah, I think about it all the time. It's terrible. It's a terrible, traumatic thing.
Does it at all affect your struggle? Is it potentially a trigger for you to want to use, or potentially a reason for you to not want to use? How does it affect your own struggle with sobriety?
I don't know. You would think I would use it for a tool to make myself not, you know, ever use again, because of the behavior that he used on my mother-in-law like that. That would be a smart, wise thing to do, but it's not always the case. You know, maybe I think about it a little too late.
Because you have struggled.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I mentioned this a little bit earlier. We had done an initial video with you. It was just 4 weeks ago when we did this video, when you first got the moped from us. And in that video, you know, you shared some very candid things with us. You shared with us the fact that, you know, since being released from prison, how many dirty urines had you received?
I think I gave 4 or 5 of them.
4 or 5 dirty urines in only 4 or 5 months that you've been released for.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to hear this and think, you know, this guy doesn't stand any type of a chance. Addiction is different for everybody. But in those 4 weeks it's been since we last saw you, you know, talk about how your life has been since then.
Last week I gave my first clean urinalysis to my PO, to her. She was ecstatic about that situation. She was really happy, a smile on her face, she told me. She moved my probation appointments from every 2 weeks now, like I've been going. That's how I gave so many dirties, because she started seeing me every 15 days. She moved me to every 30 days now, checking in.
And how does that feel for you? I mean, that's got to feel like a major sense of accomplishment.
It feels really good, because every time, literally every time I've gone to the probation office for the last 3 visits at least, I call my kids before I go. I notify my sister-in-laws that I'm going to my PO, that there's a very good possibility I might not make it back. You know, if they don't hear from me in an hour and a half, you know where I'm at. It's a bad feeling.
And you even shared with us during the first initial meeting between us, because I had concerns about the moped. I said, you know, well, what's going to happen if you go and they do lock you up? And you said, hey, you know, the keys will be here. I'll make sure that you're able to get the moped back.
Right.
You know, one thing that I've picked up from meeting you only for the second time now, is you're a very real individual. You don't shy away from the truth and your own personal struggles. And I've got a lot of admiration for you for that, because some people might try to beat around the bush with what's really going on with them. You don't do that at all.
No.
You know, I want you to talk about what you view your chances of being successful out here this time. How do you view your chances out here this time?
I think my chances pretty good. You know, even though I slip and fall, struggle, however you want to, you know, go about saying it. I'm a hard worker. I'm a determined guy. I've got goals. I got wants. I got loves and needs, and I'm going to accomplish them. And I'm going to get it right. I'm going to get my life back.
You mentioned you're a hard worker. Talk about the type of work that you do.
Paint and blast at the shipyard. Paint and blast, sandblast and spray painting. You know, I've been doing it since '94. Long time.
You've been doing it since 1994.
1994, yeah. The year my daughter was born. She's 24 years old.
And that's not easy work. It's hot. You're in tanks. You know, you're working your ass off.
Yeah, it's real hot, really, really stressful kind of work sometimes, physically, yes.
I want to wrap this up. I don't want to make this too long, but with this being our initial introduction of you to our viewers, you know, I want to wrap this up with some parting words from you. And I want you to close this with some hopes and dreams that you have currently and some things that you're hopeful of accomplishing.
Well, I'm really glad and proud of myself right now that I'm not using and that I am clean and I'm not scared to death to go to the PO or wherever I got to go next to give a urinalysis. For the 3 years I've been gone, I've been determined and very much so in trying to get back my fiance, the woman I lost when I got locked up. I've accomplished that to a degree. I have very big hopes and dreams for us both to just live a happy, normal, loving life. You know, that's what I want. And I'll do it. I'll do it.
Chris, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to share with us some of your story, and I'm hopeful that things will continue to go well for you, and I'm looking forward to potentially meeting with you again and possibly getting some sort of an update with you.
Sure, no problem. Anytime.